Hi, in this video we'll be going over the C# video tutorials. So in this video we'll be continuing with the file operations in C#. So for this part we'll be talking about create text versus append text. So those are different methods. So create text versus append text. The previous code that we did in the previous example, you can see the playlist if you haven't seen that video, but this video is on so previously we used create text. Output file points to file.create text, passing in the string, which I forgot on quotation. So we used the file.createText method for the following reasons. It creates a text file with the name specified by the argument. If the file already exists, the contents are erased, so that's something to remember. It creates a stream_writer object in memory associated with the file. So we could start with that. Just as some notes here. So the previous code uses the file.createText method for the following reasons. It creates a text file. So we can just say that file.createText creates a text file with the name specified by the argument or parameter. I'll just say parameter because that's better for me. Probably might be better for you to understand. Param is just short for parameter. So it creates a text file with the name specified by the parameter. Just make this a bit smaller. If the file already exists, its contents are erased. So make sure if you're doing something important, just test it first. You're going to want to use append text if you're just appending to a file, create text if you're creating a new file. I believe you might be able to use append text to also create a new file. So it also creates a stream_writer object in memory associated with the file. It returns a reference to the stream_writer object. So when there is a need to not erase the contents of an existing file, or basically append to a file, which means continue where you left off previously writing the file or where the file was previously written in another process, then basically you're just continuing to write to a file rather than erasing it and starting it again. So one creates a brand new file, and it will erase its contents if you try to append to create text. If you use the create text but you're really trying to append, that'll erase all the data. But if you use the append text, you'll be able to preserve your data. So when there is no need to erase the contents of an existing file, use the append text method. So that's kind of a backwards analogy. Basically, you'd want to just continue. If you want to add data to a file which already has strings inside, then you will I guess, yeah, pretty much strings, and you'd want to, let's just say data, then you'd want to just use the append text method. So let's do an example of the append text method. So here we'll create a stream writer. So we'll say stream writer output file. That'll declare our stream writer object. Then we'll say output file points to file.append text, passing in, for example, let's call our file.txt that we created last time. Then we'll say output file points to file.append text. Actually, sorry, we already did that. Then output file dot instead write line. You can just write here string 1, whatever, or sorry, continuing from the last time, let's just say string 5. Then we'll say output file dot write line. Actually, yeah, we're using write line and append text, okay. Write line and just to say string 6. Then here we'll say output file dot close. So it's similar to what we did before, except here we said output file points to file.create text, passing in the string file.txt, semicolon. So here we said instead output file points to file.append text, passing in the string file.txt, semicolon. So instead we called the append text, which continued where we left off, and probably already also creates a new file, but in this case we didn't erase the data. So you can also pass in a path. As you maybe seen me do before in other languages, you can specify the location of an output file. So if you want to open a file in a different location, or basically you could also create a file and save it to a different location in the computer, then you can specify a path as well as a file name in the argument. So if you want to open a file in a different location, you can specify a path as well as a file name, as well as a file name in the argument or parameter. So it's a bit different than other languages such as C, Python, or Java. So you have to use the @ character, but everything else is the same. So be sure to prefix the string with the @ character. Also Android too. You don't need to do this in Android, so you can just use the @ character. So be sure to prefix the string with the @ character, so let's just note that down here. So let's just create some new block of code, notes here. So you can specify the location of an output file. And you must include the @ character, or the @ symbol. So let's just have an example here. So we'll say stream writer output file, and we'll say output file here points to file, so we'll call the file class dot. It's a bit different if you notice in other languages we have to create a stream writer object. File, I think maybe is a static class or something. Actually no, it doesn't need to be static. Basically we just call the file class must be a public class. In that case, it's a little bit different because usually in other languages we just declare a file object like file or file output file, then we just say output file points to file, or yeah, file dot. It's a little bit of an extra step in C#, almost a little bit confusing, but you just have to remember this. So it's almost 100, it's almost similar exactly, but it's a bit different. So you have to call StreamWriter output file. I think you might be able to get away with file, but the docs that I learned from, or at least in the Canadian curriculum, they teach you this way. So StreamWriter output file, then output file points to file dot. Then we'll call create text. Then here we just pass in the normal path, but instead first we write the @ symbol, then the path. I'm not sure if you need double slashes or just one. Might be just one. So it would always be either one of these, two of these, or one of these, or two of these, depending on your machine. So it might be this way in C#. So I'll just type in my path that I have for my computer. Like that, so it's just @. So it's output file points to file.createText, then the parameter that we pass in is the @ symbol, then the string C:\, \users, \computer name, \documents, \file.txt, close the string, and then semicolon. We'll close the string, close the parentheses, and then semicolon. So you can read data from a file, you can call it. So whenever you just call a file like this, it's usually to do with something in your IDE folder, such as Rider or Visual Studio. This file usually needs to be in, for example, if you can see this here, needs to be in one of these directories, such as your project directory or something like that. Let's just say you need to do that. You can also specify like a folder or a file like this. So I usually just go with this way. You may have like a file or something in a folder that you need to, like a project file or app file that you want to call. You could just do it like this. But if you want to put your app file in your or you can create a directory for it or something, and then just call it while it's in your your IDE's directory, in your development environments directory. That works. Whatever way you want. Both ways. Obviously this way is easy, you just call the name, whereas this you have to add the rest of the 4 kind of paths to make one path. Okay, so here we'll go with reading data from a file, so we'll continue with that. We'll move on to the labs later on. So we'll just continue with some notes here. Just one sec here, let me just get a few things ready. Okay, so reading data from a file, which is basically taking input, reading data. Well, you can get an input stream from a file. You can get it from the user. You can get it from some kind of device or something. Maybe a database or something like that. We'll talk about those later on, but for now we're getting data from a file. So we're reading data from a file. Okay, so here we just have we start with the same thing. Actually, sorry, did we create stream writer before? So before we use stream writer, now if we're reading data from a file, we're going to use a different class called stream reader. Stream reader input file instead of output file, because when you read something you take input, when you write something that's output. So stream reader input file, we're going to declare an object of type stream reader. I'm just going to say obj, but I typed object without thinking. So stream reader input file, declare that this is a comment. So now we'll use the file.openText method to open the file to which you will be writing data. So here we'll say input file, we'll call our input file object, points to file openText. So this is a file openText method. So it's a method that you can use. You can always check the stream reader docs. You can just go to Microsoft Docs, type in stream reader, find the stream reader class, and see what methods that you can work with the class, what you have to work with the class. I usually do that when I'm just looking around, or if I want to know more information about stream reader, you can just kind of look around in the docs for methods that are similar, or methods that you want to use. You can find different methods to do the same thing. You can have a look at all the methods to explore, C# or whatever language you're looking at. So in this case we're going to use the openText method, file.openText. I think actually I messed it up. I said file openText. Okay, so there should be file.openText because we created a file object. Actually, nope, sorry, we didn't create a file object. We're calling in a built-in class here. We're referencing the file class. So it's a little bit different than other languages. We already created a stream reader input file object. Now we're saying input file. We want that object to, it's an object reference, to point it to file dot. Actually, this is actually an object reference variable, I believe. So then input file points to file dot file openText. So now it's a completed object. File points to file dot file openText. Input file points to file openText. And then here we'll pass in the, for example, file.txt to read from. So we're reading data from a file once again. Stream reader input file, then input file points to file openText, passing in the parameter string file.txt. Now we can use the read or read line method. Maybe I'll try to do some notes up here. So we could just keep this as our example. Might be adding some notes here, so we'll say we can use the read or read line method to write items of data to the file, such as stream reader dot read line streamReader.readLine, which reads a line of characters from the current stream. and returns the data as a string. We can also use the streamReader.read method, which reads the next char. So it reads the next char or next set of chars from the input stream. So what's the difference between them? So streamReader.read line reads the line of characters from the current stream and returns the data as a string. So it's the whole line in a text file, where streamReader.read reads the next character in the line. So the read method just gets one letter out of a word, for example, whereas the read line could get the whole word or the whole sentence, just depending on what's in the text file. So at the end, we're going to close the file again. So we'll do some more examples of those later on. We're just going to briefly kind of go over some stuff here. Well, sorry, we're going to try to go over a bunch of them. Or at least most of the file operations continued from the last video. We can also read a file with a loop. So don't worry about this, we'll be doing full examples of everything. I'm just going to kind of go over some notes, general notes with everything, then we'll get into some kind of deep coding examples after, with GUIs and stuff. So here we'll have reading files with a loop. So the stream reader objects have, actually we don't really need to short form it, but stream reader objects have a Boolean property named end of stream, which is similar to in the C programming language they have end of file. So it's a little bit confusing, but I'll show you how to use it. So the end of stream, so basically end of stream reader objects have a Boolean property named end of stream that signals whether or not the end of file has been reached. You can write a loop condition to check the end of the file, or detect the end of the file. So you can say, for example, you can say while input file dot end of stream points to false, so while input file dot end of stream points to false, there is equal to false. So while input stream dot end of stream is equal to false, you can do something. So in this case, you could have said while not input file dot end of stream, that would have been the same thing. Or you could have said here while. So that checks if the end of stream is, well, basically the file stream hasn't ended. Or you can say while. Yeah, so it's the same thing as this basically. the same as while not input file dot end of stream, which is the same thing here. It says the same thing as. We've discussed this in the Boolean section earlier on. If you're looking for that part of the series, you can check that out in the playlist. So this says while not input file dot end of stream. That's the same thing, or equivalent to input file dot end of stream is equal to false. Okay, so that's quite a bit of notes for now, so we'll probably just keep it with that. Well, actually, how much do we have left here? Yeah, a little bit more for this section of the notes before we get into the labs. So we'll probably just end it for this one. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the tutorial, you can like and subscribe to the channel to support the channel. If you'd like to see more programming and investing tutorials, you can subscribe to the channel if you'd like. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.